Safdie and your moderator, Todd Volpio.
Very special guests here. If
we have Sage, who plays, Sage, stand-up Sage, so people can see how much this movie has aged. And then next to him is his mother, Leah, who plays the mother in the movie. And then next to him is his father, Lee, who plays the stepfather, who you see right here.
Thank you, both of you, for letting us even do this. I don't know how in the world you would ever have agreed to allow this, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah, Frey is in Italy right now. Is that what it is?
No, he's
Ithaca.
upstate.
Ithaca, okay.
Same.
Well, it's like one of those towns, you're like Tehran, New York.
Milan.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Milan, New York. I stopped Leah and her two boys on the street 15 years ago, and maybe more than that, right? 15 years ago? 2006 or 7, something like that. And because we had spent, Todd, I'm going to let you talk in a second, but we had spent about 6-7 months trying to find two brothers for a project that this kind of started out as. It was a project called Get on My Shoulders. It was took place on a beach, and we were trying to take place on Long Beach. We had spent a lot of time trying to find two real brothers, and we just couldn't. And then I was walking somewhere in the West Village, I don't remember where. West 4th Street?
Yeah.
And I just saw, I think like Frey was like lagging behind and just turned and looked at me, and I just like told Benny, and I was like, I gotta go, I'm looking at you. Many years ago. And I just stopped him, and it's a creepy thing to stop people on the street, in particular children. So you really gotta fight against it. You gotta fight against, the bad reputation of, or you have to fight against society's bad will against people who want to talk to young children on the street. So I was I was probably over anxious or maybe overexcited, and I convinced you to at least take I had like this business card that I made at Kinko's, and I convinced you to take it and call me. You said, I'll call you. You didn't give me the number. And then I think sometime later we bumped into you at MoMA, which was serendipitous. And then you did tell me your name. I Googled you, and I saw that you and Lee, I was like, oh, great, Sonic Youth and whatnot. I thought you guys are too hip you were hip enough to know that you don't let people into your apartment to make a movie. You don't sign up to be an extra in a film. Like, these are the things you just don't do because your life is too short. And I was nervous. I was like, oh, they are very aware of filmmaking, and they're never gonna open their children's lives up to a process like this. And thank God that they didn't, because Leah you were very open to the idea of an experience for your kids, and it became this very interesting experiment in a weird way, life experiment.
We were shooting after school. We were shooting almost every day. It was this like unbelievable kind of experiment where after school we literally get picked up, go to the apartment on 36th Street? 38th Street,
36th.
35th.
35th Street. It's no longer the Metro
Benny
Hotel.
got that apartment.
Literally was like...
We had the production we had $75,000 from Andy Spade, who had been giving us jobs, and we had another $75,000 from Casey Neistat and the guy who created Nantucket Nectars.
Yes, and then we also had $75,000 from France. So we had like just a little over $200,000 in this account, and then I went to we found this apartment, and I went to it as like a young businessman. You know,
And he was 22 years old.
I was 22 years old, and I go to this apartment,
ridiculous.
and they're like, okay, we need proof that you can afford all this stuff. And I'm like, here's my bank account. And I show them all the stuff, and then we signed a 2-year lease. And so it was just like after 3
But
months.
we built the apartment was
Yeah.
what you see, and then we filled every.
Oh, but quickly, I don't know if you can all see this.
Todd, you're never gonna talk.
But this, I don't know if you can see
I
this.
love Todd. Todd is.
Hold on. This is a picture of Josh and I in a bathtub. Like that, we were basically, that scene was like partly recreated for this reason.
I wanted to say that apartment that we saw. We were walking. I forget where we were. There was this. It's not there anymore. But there's this huge garage neon light which you see in the movie.
Now it's just a garage design.
It's terrible now. They just like figured out a way. It's incredible to me to see. Even like the tram at the end of the movie is now this. It used to be interconnected. When one tram went, the other one came.
It's more efficient now.
Sure, but everything is more efficient. Doesn't make it more beautiful, you know. And you had they've whatever. We ended up picking this apartment, and we built out a little tiny room. It was probably 8 feet by 6 feet.
Did a full-size bed.
Yeah, we were very. We built sets for music videos and things like that. So we ended up doing construction more or less, not lasting construction, but temporary construction. And we built out. We didn't finish the interior.
We built the wall just big enough for a bed, so we could flip it at the end as a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
And not a studio, and that's what we did.
Yeah, but inside that room was where Brett. I shot most of the movie, half the movie. Brett shot half the movie, and Benny ran sound half the movie, and Zach Trites ran sound half the movie. And we all did everything. There's no AD, no script supervisor. We were like line producers.
We had a bloop slate, which is like from the documentaries in the '60s. It was a light that you would hold up and you'd flash it to the camera, and it would send a sound to the mixer. And that was how we sunk the camera, because we wanted to kind of let Ronnie go into the scene with the two brothers and kind of just live and be. And we didn't want we found that if we had a slate, action, this, take two, like 34 Apple, game over, you know. So
we tried to do our best. At that point in our lives, we were really fixated on removing any artifice there was to the filmmaking process, and we were just kind of obsessive about it. No score, no trained actors. When I say trained actors, mostly people that we're finding on the street, and we went to great lengths to try to create some sort of purity there. And part of that was, like Benny's saying, using documentary tools like a bloop slate, which is a really cool thing. It's a shame we don't use them anymore.
We went through like a couple because they kept breaking.
Yeah, they're very. You see them. I think we saw them in like a Wiseman movie or a Pennybaker movie. It just like whips over. As a Pennybaker whips over, and you just see him holding this thing. You're like, it's like a magical device. And so we went through great lengths of trying to erase the artifice of filmmaking. And that was, that part of that was, I'm sure Leah and Sage are here, they can attest to it, but a part of that was trying to make it seem like we weren't shooting a film. We were trying to document these kind of manipulated scenarios.
So much so that last scene where he's picking them up from school, Leah had them dressed in costume, go to school, and then called the school and said, "Oh, we have a new babysitter picking them up today. Her name is Carmen." And we went to the school and
had an actress who they've never met before.
But you had told them, like, hey, when you leave
kids up
school,
from school,
you're going to be on camera, so be prepared. And it was like unbelievable.
And then Ronnie is, I can't even imagine what's going on in your head as a kid in that moment, because you're leaving school, which is its own journey, going through from, going to school and getting out. Everyone has been a kid in this room, I hope. And you imagine, you know what it's like. You go to school, it's tiring. You get out, and that's your day. Maybe you have a play date, or I don't know. But that was when their day was, their work day was beginning, and they had to be in it immediately, acting, and they didn't. Looking at the camera thing was never really an issue. They didn't know when we were filming, so it was hard to look at a camera when you don't know it's going. But I do know that in particular, I remember when we were filming it was that, we had hundreds of extras, just real people getting their kids from school. But it's an incredible moment that probably just plays out as something that we would cast, put extras in.
And there's something else. Just seeing them climb up the stairs with the bags of groceries. We put so many books. They were so heavy, and we had them climb up the steps. And it was so good.
And when we shot that scene, we actually had them go, and then we packed up the whole apartment. We actually created this somewhat of a magic trick, so that we were so excited that we were going to have the cameras trained on the door. When they walked in, they'll see this apartment that it was filled with so much life over the past 2 months of their, at that time, short lives, and they would be completely gutted, that's the genuine reaction. But when you're sitting there, you imagine things on steroids all the time, and I was expecting them to be more emotional, but it's better that they weren't, I guess. And the same thing with
class. That's
same
how you should show that moment.
And also,
it's very low. It's like
I
a
know.
very subtle.
I guess it's like the illusion that we're not using a microphone. The voices aren't amplified. Acoustic tonight, yeah. Acoustic. This is acoustic. It's unplugged, right, Todd? We're raw. Yeah, we're raw tonight. What I was going to say is the other moment that just blows my mind is the lizard in the Lucky Charms. That's like you can't. That's why you make movies like this, because that's why it's independent. When I say independent, it has nothing to do with budget. Independent is a state of mind. They make $100 million movies that are independent films. They're just independent of a guiding force. They're their own thing. But most of the independent films have no money because they don't have to answer to somebody who's making these mandates. But you can pay $100 million for a CG effect of a blue man, but you can't spend the money to get that reaction from Sage when he sees that lizard inside the Lucky Charms. Like, that is actually priceless. And the fact that you said salamander in the moment too, I don't know anything about. Now I actually know a little bit about herpetology, so I know. But in the moment I didn't. I had no idea. To me, that every single thing that looks like that is a lizard or a snake. But in the moment, you knew it was a salamander. Or at least, I don't know, maybe it isn't a salamander. But, yeah, and then they need no PETA representative on set, so, But it was in there. It was at a moment where I was inside of a bag of Lucky Charms, and this kid, it was very brief. Yeah, we kept it very brief. But it was really, yeah, seconds. Anyway,
we glued the box from the bottom, because we knew that we thought about it, like, if they open it, they're going to open it, so they're going to think, how the hell did they get this in there? So we did it from the bottom, put the bag in, and then that was how we tricked.
We really were doing like I was trying to tell this to someone the other day, is that when you do when you're in charge of every element of a production, you know when you shoot an extra foot of film, what that means to your day the next day in terms of what you can afford to do. And knowing that, like, not knowing the financial structure of a movie, combined with literally who's script supervising. Benny, which hand was that kid's hat in?
That's why everybody wore the same outfit the whole time.
It's like we Charlie Brown it. Yeah.
It was always the same.
That was a Ronnie suggestion. Ronnie said just have everyone wearing the same clothing all the time, because you never know what we're gonna have to do in the edit. And it was very helpful, actually. Yeah. Anyway, Todd, I'm sorry.
You asked me a good question. The first one was
I don't know, working with you guys is always a surprise. You guys are totally off the chain when it comes to going. And seeing that movie was like, so where did you guys actually get the idea to use a family man with kids and be so far out there?
Yeah, what did that mean to you? What did the Lenny character mean to you? I know.
What did he mean?
Yeah, what did Lenny mean to you?
Totally dysfunctional.
You thought he was dysfunctional.
He was totally dysfunctional. And he was so dysfunctional, like so addict. Like, when that pill scene, when I saw it, I was gonna ask you, who came up with this pill?
It's the weird thing about the pill is our dad When what we did is we took all of the chaos and fucked up shit that happened and kind of rounded up.
He had to ask. He's like, he did not ask us. He asked. He's like, did I actually do? Did I do that? I don't remember. He it was a possibility.
In his own memory.
Like, oh, I don't. And then I remember actually when we premiered the movie at Cannes, there was a guy came up to me, so his shirt was covered in snot, soaking wet, and he like accosted me in like broken English. Our dad is an immigrant, not American, and his English is broken and beautifully broken, and but so it was very much like the effect of this guy coming at me crying with this accent very much felt like my own dad coming at me, and he saw the pill as kind of a representation of negligence and also selfishness. Like you're gonna put this thing forward, but not malicious, and that's what like to me, we made that movie at the perfect time. You know, I have a kid, Benny's got 2 kids, so
yeah, I was just saying, it's like,
yeah,
I literally, like, looking at it now, I have 2 boys, like, brothers, and it's like, I get nervous literally letting the door close behind me when I go to get mail. And it's like, here he is sending them out to the grocery store on 29th Street. And I'm just like, this is insanity. But it felt so natural, like, that's what was so strange is, for us, it felt like, oh yeah, we did do that, you know, at that, so it didn't feel like there was anything wrong about it, because it was something that we had done. We would go around the corner, we would go to the grocery store.
To answer your question though in short, Todd, is that this idea, this movie was us being of a certain age, being in between the perspective of like a kid and an adult, a father, more or less, not an adult, and trying to understand without sentiment and try to reify this world as much as possible, what it means to try, and like what good intentions look like when they're through the lens of someone who can't see how selfish they are. Because you know, when I see the ending of the movie, I see a family trapped inside of a tin box floating out over the East River into the fog, and to me that's beautiful. It's beautiful because you have, you know, everyone has their feelings and emotions. Like I know you with your kids, like you have this world that exists emotionally between you and your kids, and that's it. No, it's a vacuum. And I think that Lenny, his beauty is that he is very interested in giving his children memories. Some people don't give a fuck about memories. Some people they do their thing. He actually cares about giving their kids something to remember him. Okay, that's selfish.
Well, yeah,
but
there's like
we were the perfect
yes.
age to make this movie.
In the beginning, we wrote in the little. It's in the beginning of this or at the end? This is the beginning, right? Because I know we switched
Was
it.
there a dedication at the beginning of this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was IFC told us to do that.
But so it says for the middle perspective.
It was supposed to be at the
because
end.
of that
I think
reason.
Criterion, we put it back at
Yes,
the end.
yes. But the middle perspective is that like we were right at this spot where we could kind of still address the loving parts of where like our father had for us, and then also with like a kind of a critical eye as well to kind of have this both middle perspective. So it's like yes, like there's this idea that he's giving the memories, but then at the same time he just doesn't want to be forgotten. You know, he knows that they're gonna go back to the mom and the stepfather, and they're gonna have this kind of structured life, and they're not going to see him, normal, and they're going to not see him for months and months and months. And he's like, I got to cram this in so that they don't disappear.
One thing that you know when we showed the movie, I think to I don't remember, I think one of our mother's friends or something, and she, who knew our dad, I think separated when we were very 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 little. So, but she went up to. I was hanging out with Ronnie in the corner, and she came up to Ronnie and said, "Oh my God, Alberto, I haven't seen you in so long." It's like, it's actually impossible. Like Ronnie is 10 years older than me. It would be
Well, it was also
scientifically impossible.
He's not foreign,
and he's not nothing. And like this character is not our dad, but he is accessing the feelings of that. And I don't, you know, I'm not. We showed the movie. Benny and I traveled and made money working for the U.S. government for a little bit. where we would go as this cultural outreach program. We got in with some guy in the U.S. government who
He wanted Catherine Bigelow, but he's like, this one festival in Lithuania is like, hey, they want you. I can't convince him to go with Bigelow, so you got to give me your social security information, your passport. And I'm like, get out of here, and I hung up. And I'm like, this is such a scam. And so then he like finally he just like let it go, but then like he called me back. He goes, look, we have 2 days before the congressional deadline for all of our budget approval. You need to give me this information. I'm like, wow, this is legit. And so we ended up going to Lithuania.
and then we did it a bunch in Moscow.
But
Curacao.
Lithuania was the best, is because we go there and they didn't have this idea of like, oh, you sit and ask questions afterwards. And you could, a lot of it was like, oh,
E-block shit.
yeah, you could make a movie about your life and your experiences. And this was like part of why the government was like putting this out there, is like to like show the freedom of America.
Yeah, the independent, the individualist journey. Yeah, which is whatever. That's why America is amazing. But I'm only bringing it up because all films are egocentric in a lot of ways, because you're telling a story that means something to you. But what was great about this is the way it branched out and what Ronnie brought to it. Ronnie was expressing himself. You know, Ronnie had his daughter 6 months after we, I think, premiered this movie, because Mary was pregnant at Cannes, he said one of the first things he thought of was Lenny when she was born, because he just spent all this time being a father, a fictional father, which wasn't so fictional. Like, I mean, that Sage and Frey, like, that was very real to them. It was confusing as well. Like, Frey was, younger than Sage, and he had times he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know who was real, who wasn't real, and it was, tough for all of us. But he, it makes for a great, a memorable home movie for you guys, obviously. But what I was getting at is that Ronnie and Leah and Sage and Frey and all the people in the film, all of our collaborators, it became this other thing that you learn about yourself through. So what starts off as something self-centered ends up becoming much broader, and 15 years later, 14 years later,
Good
Yeah.
name. Good name.
Daddy Longlegs. That was Ronnie too. That
it
was
was
Ronnie.
Go Get Some Rosemary. That was the title of the movie. And again, it
Not-
premiered
not-
in Cannes. We couldn't. It was the beginning of the
No sale.
recession. One sale, Iran.
Yes.
Iran territory bought the movie, and well, we had, and they were going to call it Bad Jew. That's what we were told. I don't know if they ended up doing that, but it's great. It's great. It works. I mean, it would work. But we were told this was another thing, like the French distribution. Even the French made us rechange the movie to change the title to Lenny and the Kids. I lost all confidence in naming a movie after that. Every country had a different title.
Well, this is not to mention, I don't know if anybody here had pirated the movie before Criterion came out. There was a version of this film, because of how it was sold and the mishmash nature of it, somehow it got linked with, like, all of the deliverables. The music and effects track was swapped with a war film from so you're watching the film and no music is playing that's from the movie, and there's no sound effects. All that it is machine guns, missiles, and classical
Helicopters
music.
and
helicopters.
classical music.
So you're living. And I was like, this can't be real. And
That's
then
how it started, because someone came up to us in
Yes.
the Q&A and said, "What was the choice?"
yeah,
And
it's interesting sound effect choice. But then it turns out that was the version that premiered.
you have to blame the Down Under. It was an Australia
Yes.
DVD problem.
DVD and release in theaters.
It took years, and actually the Criterion release, which is incredible, we were going to put a lot of effort into, because we're hoping that it'll just drown out Corridor
The
and all the
bleachers
other.
and the cedars
Yeah.
will equal
So
out.
the movie went through a lot of insanity also.
Yeah, absolutely. But the title was, IFC said to us as well, there was like these, I don't care, I'll talk about this. After, I made a movie before this, which was a total experiment that ended up becoming kind of a very short feature film. Whatever, it is what it is. And it got picked up. I remember we played at South by Southwest. cost $50,000 to make, and it was basically a stolen. It started off as kind of a job and whatever. And then IFC was like, "Oh, we'll pay you to buy this movie." It was $50,000, so break even, great. But I remember it was the first VOD movie. It was like no one had done VOD before. I don't think anyone use VOD anymore. Is that a new term?
Well, now it's streaming.
Just streaming, okay. So
Yeah.
VOD was you go on your cable box and you hit whatever, you
Buy
buy it. And someone called me out of nowhere, and I was we went right in from making Pleasure Me Rob right into making Daddy Longlegs. There was no time in between, so I really didn't think about it. Someone called me, and they kind of like, I wasn't paying attention. Sometimes I do that. I wasn't paying attention, and they started asking me questions about VOD, and I was very frank. I was like, I don't know what the fuck VOD is. Nobody knows what it is. I don't know if anyone's seeing it in this platform. I don't think anyone knows how to do it. I can't give you that answer. I can't. And then they're like, oh, thank you. Do you mind if we quote you? And I was like, whoa, who is this? And they quoted me like verbatim, and it didn't look good. The director of the movie is speaking this way candidly about a film that was on the availables for streaming for VOD. So when we got to Cannes, it was kind of like we were told that IFC wasn't going to watch our new movie.
They refused to come.
They actually refused.
But-
there was a mandate. No
But
one
somebody
posted the
snuck,
movie.
two
Yeah.
people snuck into the screening because they're like, we gotta watch it.
Yeah.
And-
Well, we had the person who bought the previous film, he wanted to go. We took him to
Yes,
lunch.
yes,
We
yes,
took
we
him.
apologized.
We apologized. We took him to lunch. It was very mature of us. We were just like, we're gonna get him a steak lunch. We found this place on like a back road of Cannes. We took him to lunch.
Yes.
Remember, felt like I was really somebody.
Well, because it was
and then he appreciated it. He came saw the movie. They all liked it, but again, it was recession, and there was a certain amount of money that the financiers needed to get back, and there was a couple of mandates from IFC when they did eventually come around, and I wrote this long apology for speaking so candidly, and it's ridiculous to even hear myself say this right now, but.
one of them was you have to change the title.
Yes,
Nobody's
exactly.
gonna go see a movie called Go Get Some Rosemary. What's it about? That means nothing to everybody.
And we agreed. We understood
Yeah, so
that.
we're like, and then Tom, Scott, and Casey and I sat. We're like, well, let's figure out another name. Dad.
That was the pitch.
That was the pitch. We're like, yeah. And then we looked up. Then you look up. Oh, are there any other movies named that? And there is another movie named Dad with Ted Danson.
Yeah.
And then the poster was so cheesy, and like I just
kind of
destroyed-
I kind of like.
I wish we went with Dad now, but back then I'm like, we can't do it. And then
The whole thing was an offense.
Then Ronnie's just like, how about Daddy Longlegs?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. It's unbelievable.
And then there was. It's funny. Then you like know about the Daddy Longlegs. When it's out in the world, there was like a band called Daddy Long. Remember, it was like some like indie band
Yes.
that like bothered me. That was like
Well, there's,
around.
and then there's a Fred Astaire with the space or with the non-space. I don't
Yeah.
know. But then now they're actually somebody added us on Twitter about a French book called Daddy Longlegs. It's like a children's book about just a dad with long legs.
The way I interpret the title, just because I'm me, you guys can interpret it your own way, it's he needs to create these memories that have long legs.
Yeah.
So like it's these 2 weeks, they gotta last the rest of the year. And that was the other thing is we heightened everything. We didn't see our dad for 2 weeks a year. We were actually, it was the reverse. We saw our mom less. It was the flip custody. So by making everything so heightened, this idea, these 2 weeks that need to last the whole year, that was, Ronnie was great to just, and it was a musical thing. It was just like, oh, Daddy Longlegs would work. So anyway, that's why it's called Daddy Longlegs.
Seeing that movie, knowing you guys, and now seeing you different, the same insanity, but just so much more. You know what I mean? Seeing you make it, like you say, with a small budget and everything.
Well, that to me, Gems was the exact.
Yeah.
Todd works in the Diamond District, and as a jeweler and.
Diamond.
Well, it's so funny because what?
Diamond trade.
Diamond trader, but you're also a jeweler.
I don't make jewelry.
You facilitate making jewelry.
yes, I'm in the drawing.
I mean, I've been with you on the
Yeah.
block and seen you look at some
Yeah,
stones,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
also helped me make pieces.
Of course,
Yeah.
for you,
The,
yes.
but no, but as you're saying that, the shot of Lenny through the glass is basically the same shot of Sandler and Daddy Longlegs, just from a bigger building.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, that when you're talking about
Yes.
when we had we got that hotel room
Yes,
across the street,
exactly.
that they just fumigated for crazy cockroaches. And I remember I was in there and we were going so
Oh, yeah,
late
it
and
smelled disgusting.
I felt lightheaded and I was like, what's going on in here? And it was they apologized. They gave us a room that hadn't been aired out yet. It was the only room that could see into the apartment, and it was very weird to ask. I don't remember the name of the hotel. Some shitty little hotel on 36th Street, and they were like, we said we need this room.
like we like
It's a very strange
we
request.
climbed up, like did the whole grid, like all right, right there.
We actually looked at another one, like, no, this isn't right, we need the one next door. And you make these requests, it sounds almost like there's something like in No Country for Old Men, like there's something hidden in the heating vent or whatever.
Why did Dad have the dream about the Daddy Longlegs, you know, with the whole image?
Be careful what you create,
Right,
you know, it'll,
instead of one of the kids.
Yeah,
so
well, and also
it's
like yeah,
weird.
well, he could suck the life out of you know
Right.
if you go too far.
I actually see that scene as partly from the kid's point of view too. But it's he creates these myths, and the myths
Yeah.
start to define him,
Fine, that's what I
and you gotta be careful, you know, you gotta be careful about the bed.
That wasn't a dream.
Just crazy as you say. There was someone involved in the movie that was really perplexed about the language of the movie, that it just showed that as if it was real, and they were very disturbed by that. They were just like, can we make it black and white? I was like,
The
no.
other thing is that mosquito was like
We spent most of the money on that.
it was,
20% of the budget.
it was so expensive.
I mean, we had to make 3 of them.
Yeah.
And because one you crush, one that flies, and one that sucks.
And the wings, it had a big stick coming out of it, and then
Hold
we actually had to edit and do all the sound effects on a commercial
That's
to
right, I
pay
forgot
for the
about
special effects to do that, to get rid of the.
It was a commercial for like antidepressants.
It was
or
a
something,
whole
right?
like a pharmaceutical
company. That's
It's
right.
insane.
Because the guy who's doing all the VFX,
Yes.
and he said, "I'll do it." But now in hindsight, it's the easiest VFX ever.
Oh my
Moving
God.
a pole and adding some
It was.
blood.
He actually got. It was embarrassed. He took advantage of us.
Yeah, he
nice guy.
But making that mosquito is, it's obviously, they took them 100 days to make the wax one in the Natural History Museum. Is that what it is?
Really?
Yeah, 100
Yeah.
days. And this guy prided himself. He's like, I did 3 of them in 30. It's like,
We
it's
said no, we didn't.
2008.
But it's also they did
It's
it.
nothing.
You
It's,
did it in silicon.
yeah, they did it by candlelight. You know what I mean? Like, this guy didn't have a
The
computer.
best part about it was the guy is an amazing guy, but he had been wanting to do this forever. So we brought up the mosquito, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And he went to a shelf, took out a book, and he had already had all the measurements. 'Cause he'd been dreaming of doing it.
He used to make the double fetuses for evolution and
Yeah.
store evolution, and
But it's funny, we walked
still around.
through-
Evolution still around.
It is, yeah.
And we went over to his. We were like, wow, I'm kind of this guy. I just can't wait to see his studio. He's in the Navy Yard or something. And we went in there. It's like a guy who makes silicone models. How else do you think he makes money? He makes sex toys.
Yeah.
And I remember going into like the wrong rooms. There's all dildos. Row of dildos, and changed it a little bit. It changed looking at the
It was
mosquito.
just a mosquito, yes, in
Yeah.
a different shape.
Yeah, none of his dildos had a proboscis.
They
They
were
were
in
every
the
color,
box.
every color.
Yeah.
Like,
But
the rainbow.
the hair was very hard, and the wings. It's actually, if you look, and now I actually, whenever I go to the museum, I look at the mosquito every time, and the way he actually did the wing, like the edges of the wings exactly the same, and there's these little pieces of just like these round, like little feathers. It's amazing. And the mosquitoes, the way we shot that too was pretty. We just took a Bolex into the museum
Oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
and did it.
We had a
we just
60
did it.
millimeter Bolex, and I remember, I totally forgot
Ransack,
about
we had
that.
we had
a
lights.
decoy crew. We had a decoy
No, we didn't have a
crew.
decoy crew. What we did is we went in first, and then Zach went in with the sound after.
That's right.
And they said, "Oh, you can't take in bags." He goes, "Oh, this is really expensive. I'm working on a commercial down the street. This is really expensive
It's still
equipment."
camera, still camera.
No, there
Oh,
was
the sound,
The
the
sound.
sound,
So the
yeah.
sound is like, this is like $10,000-$15,000 of material. You can hold on to it if you want to be responsible. Like, no, you can take it inside. So they took it inside and like, all right, let's go. And we just started rolling. And then they were like, where is this film crew? There was all this stuff and the security was looking for them. And they even asked us.
At one point, we ended up near like that weird area towards the back with the birds.
Yes,
the dead
yes.
birds, or the dead bird. Of course, they're dead.
We did.
But, and I remember they came back, and we were there, and we already had everything hidden. And they said, "Have you guys seen a film crew going around here?" We're like, "Yeah, we actually saw somebody over there."
Yeah.
And similarly,
Ron, because of this movie, Ronnie is banned from YMCA's for the rest of his life. Because the scene where he gets cruised in the YMCA, we just figured we could go at an off hour.
We just did it, yeah.
Bring the film camera into the locker room of the YMCA and just film it.
And who's the guy?
That guy he's a performance artist from the 70s named Peter Kramer. And we actually said we wanted someone who was very well hung. And then the guy dropped his pants. The guy dropped his pants, and it was an awkward moment because we're like, right?
oh hey, okay. Thank you. But it was just that was an awkward moment because how do you say to the guy, "This is not what we asked for"? but my point is, we were shooting the scene, and scene went great. Ronnie, that's a recreation of Ronnie getting cruised once.
We didn't have permission to do it, so here we are in a locker room with a camera doing the scene, and they just assumed
It's a porn.
Yeah. So they're like, okay. And
Also,
somebody-
YMCA is famous for this.
and
For
they
the
saw
showers.
that. They saw that, and they're like,
Yeah.
rightly so. You're not allowed to film here. You're not allowed to do this.
No, the best part, it was the actor. It was the YMCA on the
Ron
Upper West
Perlman?
Side. Ron Perlman, I think it was him. Ron Perlman, the actor. City of Lost Children, Hellboy. Interesting guy. What's that? And the Saws?
He saw us.
Oh, he saw us. He was in the. I can imagine now. Actually, he's an actor, public person. He's in this room, in this locker room. It's a weird fucking scene. There's two guys. There's another guy looks like Ronnie, and then another guy around the thing, and the kids weren't there. And it looks like a porn. We're shooting a porno, and just like the beginnings of a porno. Like you cut to the shower scene, you know what's happening. And he's like, I'm in the background of this fucking recording. I'm a famous actor. I don't want that. Like, I can't have that. I just can't have it. So we don't know for sure it was him, but it was him. And then they came up, and we were like, oh shit. And I think we were using it was Ari, right?
It was.
Ari
We went down with the film.
And then
first.
Ronnie tried to. That's right. The film was out. Benny
Yes.
got the film out immediately,
Got out
so we
first.
had it.
We went out in
exposed.
waves, and then Ronnie was.
But the sound was still in there.
but it was so funny because Ronnie literally was stuck, and they got him. They took him to the computer. They put his name.
No, he
his
tried to
photo.
say that we were tourists
Yes.
and we were interested in recording an oral history of our oral experience of our time in New York, and it's just a sound experience. And it was very advanced sound equipment. They're like, I don't know. Someone told us there was a camera. He goes, this might look like a camera because it wasn't. I think it was.
It was the microphone with the boom.
Yeah.
So that
Maybe
was
he
like
thought that was the camera, and they said you're banned for life. They took his picture, they took his ID, and he's upset because it was the only cheap place to play racquetball. And that's how I bonded with Ronnie for the first time. He's like, "You play racquetball?" I said, "Never in my life." And he said, "Let's go and play." And we go to this very specific YMCA. It's to this day he's upset about it. You know,
I actually would like to see if they went back, they haven't updated their computers.
I said the same thing. He said it's not like it's a computer. It's not like a lost file.
No, but you never know. Sometimes they like redo their system. They're like, yeah, that kind of stuff gets.
Yeah. So yeah, the YMCA and the Natural History.
This was an old print or a new print?
I don't know. Does anyone remember what the company?
Looked pretty.
Sundance.
It says Sundance Selects.
Wow, that's old. It's when they looked really good.
Oh no, yeah, this is the print because it was our print.
Yes.
We lent it to IFC
Amazing.
for all those years, and I had a hard time getting the print back.
Sundance Selects. IFC really had a chance. And that, well, they had the movies.
They still have a
streaming.
chance.
No, I'm saying like they could have been like the first streaming giant.
Oh yes, yes.
It was like
Well, it was the
Sundance
first year of
Selects.
Sundance Selects, and that's right.
It was like, and they had
Does
cable
Sundance
channel,
Selects still
movie theater,
exist?
TV channels. Like it's
Doesn't
insane.
exist anymore. Sundance Selects. No.
A little early.
It's Sundance Channel, which is IFC, or was IFC. IFC had a cool channel that.
Channel still soon.
Yeah, but they play like Scrubs, right? They used to be like exclusively.
Documentary now?
don't know what that is. No.
It's a different company. Different IFC.
Oh, okay.
It was IFC was very forward thinking in that moment. They had the TV, they had the movie
Portlandia
theater, the
type
TV
thing?
channel.
Okay.
It was interesting.
They did. They had it all.
Yeah.
They had it all, and they were the only people buying small budget films for small amounts of money. But they were putting them out there, and they were the only game in town for that, and it was really awesome.
Literally, I stood with a sandwich board outside of the IFC Center because they were like, they gave all their money to Ken Loach
Looking for Eric.
and
yeah.
all of it, so okay, that's the movie that we're gonna do. And I'm like, I'm gonna convince everybody who walks into that theater not to go to his movie, they go to ours. And I show up with this big sandwich board
Every day.
And then the first day I show up, they're like, "Oh, this is cute. This is funny." And 8 hours later, I'm still standing outside.
They didn't realize that it wasn't cute.
I was like, this is like, I'm working here. And it got held over.
It held over. It was in theaters for 12 weeks. It was very cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was in theaters. It was in theater. It was in a theater. IFC
Theaters, it moved around.
It did.
It moved around.
Their IFC Center still has this one theater that has like 10 seats in it.
Blu-ray.
And that one, it was in that one for a while.
The Blu-ray theater, yeah.
And one more question.
I like the IFC Center a lot.
The multiplex is the
Yeah,
best.
I really like it.
The girlfriend, so.
I love the film forum. I do. I love the film forum. It used to be.
It's true, the
Until
film-
you did the renovation, there was a couple seats that were really gnarly.
But it is actually amazing. There's, what are there, 4 screens in here?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like amazing, a little theater like that.
There's a seat somewhere in here named
Stop.
Al Goldstein. One of the seats in one of the theaters is named after Al Goldstein, and there's a. I'm sure you guys will now run looking him up and like pry that thing off. But very important person for First Amendment rights. He tells this very beautiful story about, he had a son who famously ended up having a major fallout with literally over the front page of Screw magazine and Midnight Blue. He was bonding with his son Jordan, and he wanted to show him, I forgot what film it was. It's a movie that meant a lot to him. So maybe some sort of Japanese monster film. I don't remember what that was playing at the film forum in like the 80s, the old one. And couldn't believe that there was a theater showing this film that meant so much to him. So he came down, showed his son this movie, an incredibly memorable experience. That was it. I don't think he ever came back, but he's the type of guy, larger than life, where he like had this great experience. So he like gave like, I don't know, $50,000 for him. Anyway, his seat should, be sat in proudly.
How's it feeling right now, looking back, sitting here, right, and looking at this film after rising, to such heights? So maybe you've risen to such heights.
That's just because you saw us on the set where we're like, on Gems, one day I turned, when the first day we were shooting the Milan, someone's like, oh, you have to go and improve some outfit for side character. I was like, oh, where do I go? They go, you gotta go to 45th Street. I go to 6th Avenue. And I was like, oh wow, I wonder what they're shooting. Some tons of trailers.
Right.
And I see someone from our crew getting out of one of the trailers. I'm like, oh shit. They're like, I was like, I think I even said, what is this shooting? Is we competing with another production? I said, this is the production. And that freaked me out. I never wanted to go near the trailers ever again. I get so intimidated when I see these productions around town. I get so intimidated. I still feel like they're gonna throw something at me. But now it's a little less fearful. But my point is that it felt making the movie, the production designer on that film was the production designer on this movie.
Right.
And, it really felt like the same. You know what I mean? We had me, Ronnie, and Benny, and some of our friends. And like that, again, that's when I say like independent film. I mean, we had a distributor attached in that movie. And we had a international distributor, Netflix, all that stuff. It was crazy to make a movie that you already had distribution for it. That was crazy to us. So but it didn't change our mindset. We just still were making the movie. We're making the same movie. I watched this. Look, there's stuff in this that I would do differently.
Right.
There's a boat that's out there in my name still.
Oh yeah. Benny got a bunch of tickets.
It was like I don't know what made the boat broke down. We got the boat all the way to this lake upstate, and then the boat's in the water, and we get
had
the
two
shot.
boats. We had two
We had
boats.
But the boat that we built up,
One boat wasn't ours, one boat was theirs, right?
but with the boat with the water skier singing, that was our boat, and I bought it, registered it in my name, went and all this stuff, and had to get the trailer registered in my name, and then we towed it up there, and then when it broke down, I'm like, oh, what do I do with this? They're like, we'll take it off your hands, don't worry about it. And then all they
Lesson
did
learned
was,
right there.
they literally threw the boat in the garbage, took the license plate and put it on their car, and
Not on their car.
on their own trailer, on their
Yeah,
own trailer, and
yeah.
then just ran through all these like stop signs, toll booths. I was getting all these tickets. What's going on here?
But I remember like when you towed it from Long Island up to upstate, you know, this is the stuff that like when I see a prop arrive on set of Gems, Olympic Gems, I think of the journey of getting the boat from here all the way to there, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I understand it. Making the props, we made the props. We sat there and made all the props, and outside the obviously not the mosquito, but so my point is like it's the same shit.
The mindset's there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the writing side of it's changed a lot. The editing side has changed a good amount. Yeah, there we go. Right. Yeah, we gotta go. All right.
Amazing.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you everybody for coming out.
Oh yeah, there was one review. I forgot what country it was, and it was just an image of a tripod. And it said,